There's an elephant and donkey both on shaky ground, but we got the truth and we gonna shout it loud. From the healthcare to taxes, they can't hide from us. With a wink and a nod, we expose all the fuss. Educating the masses with a smirk on our face, bringing clarity to the headlines in this crazy race. From the White House to your house, we cover it all, putting humor in the facts, we're having a ball. Oh no, America, let's get real and laugh, teaching you the politics with a little bit of sass. Current events and headlines that blow your mind, only on Oh No America you'll find.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oh No America. I'm your host, Nora, and we're live in the garage. Thank you all for being here so much. Thank you all. I appreciate y'all so much. Oh my goodness, guys. We are going to do some talking about it today. And thank you for, if you guys came here from my other stream, I wasn't able to get that linked, but I was just live on my other channel. Let me see if I can do it now. Raised in Scientology. Is this the right one? This is the right one. Let's go to the movies. Anyway, it was a good show there. We had a good time. We're talking about Scientology nonsense. And here we're going to talk about American nonsense. American nonsense is, it's a lot. It's a lot. And today we're going to start our dive into this infamous Project 2025. Okay. This is going to be a many-part series talking about Project 2025. This will be, we're going to have to cover a lot of ground here, a lot of history, a lot of other things. Meanwhile, Trump is appointing people that I told you he was going to appoint, that he was hinting at putting the nomination up for. And we're going to have to deal with that too, because, Kash Patel, like I said, is going to be, it's going to be nominated as the FBI director. Guys, we're going to cover Kash Patel and what that means for America on another stream. It's a lot. If you guys don't know who Kash Patel is, it's a lot to unbox there. I mean, I have to go through his 2-hour interview from 2023 with Steve Bannon to give you guys the full aspect of, what went on there. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting and wild, So listen, I can understand that, Vernon, that the JWs are out in force, man. I see them everywhere I go on the weekends. They are out telling everybody, listen, the end of the world's coming, y'all. It's coming. And if you want to be saved and go to heaven, you must come with us. We are the only people who can save you. Yeah, that whole thing. It's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a fun ride. But let's get started. Let's get started here. We're going to start with the authors, of Project 2025. Because it is a long document, y'all. It is a long document. So there's no way we could cover it in one episode anyway, just because it's hundreds of pages. So we're going to start here. Let's just start at the beginning. Right here at the Heritage Foundation, or simply Heritage. This is the conservative group think tank that authored and has been marching forward this type of agenda for the last 70 years. I shouldn't say 70 years. Because I'm getting my math wrong here. This is their website, heritage.org. Join the fight for America's future, our country depends on it. Everything that they say in here is fear tactics. There's not one portion of this website that is not trying to evoke terror or fear out of anyone who comes across it. Okay. This is ultimate cult tactics here from the Heritage Foundation, which is why they've been so singularly successful, right? Okay. The Biden-Harris Department of Labor is politicizing your retirement savings. That's actually, they're trying to keep your retirement savings. But politicizing is a hot button word. Protecting primary parental authority from institutional challenges. Restoring equality in employment. Sinking the DEI ship. This is a key thing that they want to get rid of in this country. And they've already big corporations have already announced that they're throwing away all their DEI initiatives. Okay. All right. So then they go into, the freedom to choose, all these things. This is just, it's nuts. Okay. So who's in this here? Okay. What are they about? Okay. So their mission every day, the Heritage Foundation is building an America, because America apparently doesn't exist without them, is building an America where freedom, opportunity, prosperity, and civil society flourish. Heritage mission is to formulate and promote public policies based on the principles of free enterprise, capitalism, limited government, libertarianism, individual freedom, more libertarianism, traditional American values, no gay, no labiqua, rainbow, and a strong national defense. Okay. Providing solutions, researching, developing, and promoting innovative solutions, right? Mobilizing conservatives, uniting the conservative movement to work together. That's the most important part of the thing they do. And training leaders, preparing future generations who will lead America. Now more than ever, the American people need a champion to preserve the great American experiment and everything good and just that it represents. That's why the Heritage Foundation exists. We champion policy solutions that benefit all Americans. But Heritage is also much more than a think tank. Oh, here we go, guys. Every day, Heritage works in our nation's capital. They're not lying. Works in our nation's capital, y'all. They're not a department of the United States government. To build an America where freedom, opportunity, prosperity, and civil society flourish. How do they do that? How do they do that? It's called lobbying, unchecked lobbying. But unlike so many other organizations in Washington, D.C., the Heritage Foundation's focus isn't on putting more power into the hands of government. It's on returning power to the people. To cis, white, straight people, mostly the men. That's why we don't work on behalf of any special interest or political party. No, you are a special interest. Let's be clear. Instead, our commitment is to the American people and more than 10 million members. That's how big this group is, y'all. 10 million members. Advocates and concerned Americans who support us. Yeah, they're a 501c3. They get all the cheddar. Why we speak with one voice. Listen to this part very carefully. If this doesn't scream cult, I don't know what does. Heritage world-renowned experts deeply experienced in business, government, the military, nonprofits, academia, and communications. Business, government, the military, nonprofits, academia, and communications. They're not fucking around here. Spend each day developing innovative solutions to the issues America faces. From empowering parents in education, reversing growing spending and inflation. I don't know how they claim to do that. And protecting the unborn, but not the born-did people. Fuck them kids that are in foster care. But when you're in the womb, we will protect you. to securing America's borders, countering the threat of communist China, holding big tech accountable, and ensuring free and fair elections. Absolutely not. Heritage is on the front lines in the fight to help America thrive. Our team then takes those solutions directly to decision makers in government, Congress people, senators, judges, district people, the mayors, all of that, to turn ideas into action. Heritage has been consistently ranked #1 think tank in the world for it. But we don't stop there. No. We also communicate to citizens how government can work more effectively for all Americans. Just more brainwashing through traditional media and social media platforms. Engage with the international community to promote freedom, peace, and trade that benefits America and the world. Why can't it just benefit the whole world? Aren't we part of the world? Apparently, we're separate. Train the leaders of tomorrow who will lead America to a brighter future and help unite the conservatives around principles and ideas that strengthen our cause. Here's their statistics that they love to brag about. 400 plus meetings with congressional staff, 120 plus meetings with members of Congress, 47 candidate briefings, because they, of course, should be briefing candidates for national office, 168 working groups events on Capitol Hill, Heritage alumni serving on Capitol Hill, 80 of them, 30 congressional testimonies. They have 80 people from their foundation, from their front groups, serving in Capitol Hill in some capacity, either as a staffer or in Congress itself. Okay. Recognizing that the elected leaders are more responsive to adopting policy solutions when they know the American people already support them, Heritage has created Heritage Action for America. Heritage Action, and we're going to go to that. I have it right here. Works with lawmakers to implement Heritage Foundation solutions, while it also organizes nearly 20,000, they call them sentinels, sentinel activists, and more than 2 million local grassroots activists around the nation to push for their adoption. Guys, they have the numbers to mobilize. This is not a small organization. Okay? Their sentinels are people who are specially trained here. Heritage Action for America. What's on their cover? Dismantle DEI. It is so evil. Yeah, diversity, equity, and inclusion, guys. Just absolutely fucking diabolical. Gross. End government discrimination. Call Congress today. And when you click on the Call Congress Today button, where does it take you? Oh, you can't do it. A 404 page not found. You guys should fix your fucking links. Okay. Read our 7-point agenda. I think I will. Fighting for America's future. Okay. Education, borders and crime, election integrity, regulations and spending, China, big tech, life and family. Notice who they leave off this list of like possible things that they want to talk about. Oh, Russia. They don't have a problem with Putin and Russia, just China. You know why? Because Putin's white. Putin is white, y'all. Xi Jinping, he's not white. He's Chinese. They don't like non-white people. It's all right as long as it's all white. That should just be their slogan. Wonder Bread. Okay. So these are the things that they are like literally going through. Okay. According to the Wikipedia, okay, the Heritage Foundation, sometimes simply referred to as Heritage, is an American conservative think tank based in Washington, D.C., founded in 1973. It is 3 years older than me, y'all. It's 51 years that they've been working at this. 51 years. It took a leading role in the conservative movement in when? The 1980s, during Ronnie Reagan's run, whose policies were taken from Heritage Foundation studies including its mandate for leadership. Let's look at that. Okay. Is a series of books published by the Heritage Foundation, an American conservative think tank. They offer specific conservative policy recommendations designed to be implemented by the federal government. The books have traditionally been released to coincide with incoming U.S. presidential administration. The first edition was released in 1981, following the election of Ronald Reagan, to serve as policy guidance for the incoming Reagan administration. The latest publication, published in April 2023, is a major component of what? Project 2025. Okay. So, Mandate 1 was put out in 1981. Okay. It is a 20-volume, 3,000-page publication. Contained more than 2,000 individual suggestions to move the federal government in a conservative direction. Okay, Mandate 2 was in 1984. And who was that for? Again, for Ronnie Reagan, his second administration. Okay. Continuing the conservative revolution. That was Mandate 2. We didn't stop them then. Mandate 3. Who is this for? This was for Poppy Bush when he won there. Mandate 4, prior to the 1996 presidential election, where we got who? Bill Clinton. Heritage published the 4th Mandate for Leadership edition. Mandate for Leadership 4, turning ideas into action, was aimed at where? Congress. Because they knew they weren't going to win. They knew they weren't going to win that election. Poppy Bush wasn't winning again. Okay. And focused on presenting a political strategy for Congress to continue the conservative policies of the outgoing Republican presidential administration. This edition of the mandate was offered as study material at an orientation conference attended by both Democratic and Republican freshman congressmen. They hold a little thing for the freshmen. In particular, a chapter on moving an agenda through Congress was recommended by Senate Majority Leader Trent Lott to then House Speaker Newt Gingrich, because the Republicans controlled Congress during Clinton's administration. Okay. This is when we got Georgie Porgy, GW, number 2, the 5th edition. Okay. Was in 2000. The keys to a successful presidency. The forums focused on how past presidents and administrations implemented their policy agendas from their first day in office. Leon Panetta was there, right? Former chief of staff to Bill Clinton, Martin Anderson, who advised President Reagan. Okay. All of these people. Then we had the next one in 2005. Okay. Principles to limit government, expand freedom, and strengthen America. This was only 156 pages long. They got lazy. The shorter length reflected that policies and ideas from the early mandate editions had, by the time of this publication, largely become part of the mainstream debate. So by 2005, okay, we're talking 15 years, it took them to put forth a small conglomerate of ideas. And now the things that they are screaming about that are important to them, not important to America, important to this group, is now part of the mainstream. They already know they're winning. Okay? This is 2016. What happened in 20? They skipped it. They didn't even do another one during the Obama administration. They didn't even do, guys, take that into focus. They knew that they were not going to win conservative ideas in the 8 years that we had President Obama. Okay, so between 2008 and 2012, those elections, they did nothing, not even for Congress. Why? Because their earlier mandates from mandate number 1, 2, and 3 were already being fully implemented by Congress. Then, shortly after the 2016 election of Donald Trump, we had the blueprint for reform come out, and this is handed to him. This edition was longer than prior editions, published in 3 volumes, in part because much of the progress of the Foundation's public policy agenda had been lost during the presidency of Barack Obama. In 2018, Heritage claimed the Trump administration had then embraced 64%, or nearly 2/3, of the proposed policies in the Foundation's mandate for leadership. I want you guys to let that sink in. All of the edicts, all of the things that he did came from the Heritage Foundation. That man doesn't know how to govern, but the Heritage Foundation thinks they do. Okay. So the 8th mandate came out in 2020. Clear vision for the next administration. Clearly, they thought Trump was going to win. It's a companion document. Solutions 2020 was also released. I'm sure they gave that just to Congress, right? Because they can't, they definitely didn't hand that to Biden. And then we have Project 2025, the 9th edition in the mandate series, Mandate for Leadership 2025, The Conservative Promise, was published on April 23rd. Its earliest publication before the presidential election ever. It has 30 chapters and over 900 pages in length. This document provides the policy agenda for Project 2025. Now, here it is here in all of its, this is their website, project2025.org. Okay. Building a conservative victory through policy, personnel, and training. This is how they get their sentinels, guys. Okay. They're going to list things. It's all very official. Training. A presidential administration academy, preparing political appointees to be ready on day one. The Presidential Administration Academy is a one-of-a-kind education and skill-building program designed to prepare and equip future political appointees now to be ready on day one of the next conservative administration. This academy provides aspiring appointees with the insight, background knowledge, and expertise in governance to immediately begin rolling back destructive policy and advancing conservative ideas in the federal government. What you will learn. If you're a former political appointee or you're exploring appointed service for the first time, there's something for you to learn. The Presidential Administration Academy covers topics ranging from how to identify appointee positions for which you qualify, to navigating the necessary background and security clearance processes, to recognizing and addressing the dangers of the administrative state. Potential appointees will learn the intricacies of the federal budget process, how to work with the media, managing congressional and stakeholder relations, the federal procurement process, and dozens of other topics that provide the knowledge and skills you'll need to be an effective presidential appointee. Who should attend, right? The format, time commitment, faculty. How much does it cost? Are you just training people for free? Does the program cost anything? Here we go. No, it's a free program. They're training people for free. One to 2 business days, you find out. Yes, you can get this certificate on your resume. Yes. Okay. So, guys, this is, you can go and you can get it yourself. It's available in PDF form on the internet. It's Project 2025 if you want to, Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise, Presidential Transition Project. Now, there was something that came up during the debates that was controversial, that people tried to debate, right? And during the election, rather. So Kamala Harris had said that Trump's name appeared, because he kept saying, Donald Trump kept saying, he has nothing to do with Project 2025. He never read it. He's never heard of it. Well, of course he's never read it. It's 900 pages, guys. It doesn't have any pictures. So that would be way too long. There's not enough McDonald's and KFC to keep him busy while he's doing all that. Okay. So, let's see if she's right. Okay. We're going to control F this bitch. Okay. And I'm going to type it. I did it already. Trump. Trump's name appears 312 times in this document. 312 times. Okay. That's the first time it appears. He previously served as chief counsel for the Trump transition. This is talking about, some guy's resume here. The second time he appears, someone else that was already in the Trump administration. This guy too. Yep. Trump. It's usually about the Trump administration, right? All of these people, okay, are connected to Trump. There is not one person in here that we will go over that is not from the previous Trump administration. Okay. See? And they go over everything in this thing, guys. It's everything from education to nuclear weapons. Okay. So we're going to go back. It's a lot to take in. Okay. So we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the very beginning. Back to page 1. It's very long, y'all. It's very long. Here we are. All right. I'm going to pump this up a bit. I'm going to put myself back up towards the top here. There we go. All right. All right. So mandate there we go. 2023 by who? Who's copyrighting it? The Heritage Foundation. That's their address. That's their phone number. Give them a call. Forward by Kevin D. Roberts, PhD. And edited by Paul Dans and Stephen Groves. Wonderful. Okay, so of course we've got the acknowledgments, the board, the Presidential Transition Project, authors, contributors, and a forward. Okay, and then we're just going to go over these chapters, right? So you have the taking the reins of the government, White House, Executive Office of the Presidents, Central Personnel Agencies, managing the bureaucracy. Okay, the Common Defense, Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, Intelligence Community, Media Agencies, U.S. Agency for Global Media, Corporation for Public Broadcasting. I'm sorry, you want to take over the Corporation for Public Broadcasting? Agency for International Development. Okay, the general welfare. Like, look how they're trying to make it like they're doing the preamble to the United States Constitution, and they are not. And they are not. Oh, Department of Agriculture, Education, Energy and Related Commissions, Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of the Interior, Department of Justice, Labor and Related Agencies, Transportation, and Veterans Affairs. We got to get them all. The economy. Okay. Department of Commerce, Treasury, Export-Import Bank. The Export-Import Bank should be abolished. The case for the Export-Import Bank. Like, so they had a little, they're doing a little debate here. Federal Reserve, Small Business Administration, Trade, the case for free trade, written by Peter Navarro. There's a thinker. Okay, 2 people wrote that, and Kent Lassman. And then, of course, we have independent regulatory agencies. Okay, we have the Securities and Exchange Commission and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau exists because of Elizabeth Warren. And she has singularly taken on the SEC. And let's see what they're going to do, because they don't like all those regulations in there. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, okay, the Federal Election Commission, and the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And then we have a little chapter onward. Okay, so that's, as you can see, the onward thing, this is just their little, like, we're so excited. It's the last thing here, okay, that takes them down. All right, so here we go with the acknowledgments. This work, Mandate for Leadership 2025, the Conservative Promise, is a collective effort of hundreds of volunteers who've banded together in the spirit of advancing positive change for America. Our work is by no means the comprehensive compendium of conservative policies, nor it is our group the exclusive cadre of conservative thinkers, because we got to put all these $5 words in there, to make sure that, people know that we went to Harvard and Yale and we went to, the East Coast upper crust schools, without push. The ideas expressed in this volume are not necessarily shared by all. Shock. What unites us is the drive to make our country better. First and foremost, we thank the chapter authors and contributors who gave so freely of their time in service of their country. Okay. Yeah. This is all volunteer shit, guys. But because of the volunteering that people do for the Heritage Foundation, they get special favors in return. Do not get it twisted. This is a quick quid pro quo. Absolutely. We're particularly grateful to have the help of dedicated members of the Heritage Foundation management and policy teams, Executive Vice President Derek Morgan, Chief of Staff Wesley Coopersmith, Associate Director of Project 2025 Spencer Sheraton, and Thomas A. Rowe Institute for Economic Policy Studies Director Paul Ray devoted a significant amount of their valuable time to reviewing and editing the lengthy manuscript and provided expert advice and insight. The job of transforming the work of dozens of authors and hundreds of contributors into a cohesive manuscript fell upon Heritage's formidable team of editors, led by Director of Research Editors Therese Pennefather, Senior Editor William T. Poole, Marla Heiss, Jessica Lothar, Karina Rollins, and Kathleen Scaturo. Without those tireless efforts, you would not be reading these words. The talented work of Data Graphic Service Manager John Fleming, Manager of Web Development and Print Projects Jay Simon, Director of Marketing Elizabeth Fender, Senior Graphic Designer Grace DeSandro, and Senior Designer Melissa Bluey came together to bring the volume to life. We also thank the dedicated junior staff who provided immeasurable assistance, especially, these guys got special mention, Jordan Embry, Sarah Calvis, and Jonathan Moy. These guys are up-and-comers. Watch those names. Most important, we're grateful to the leadership, supporters, and donors of each of the Project 2025 Advisory Board member organizations and those of the Heritage Foundation, without whom Project 2025 would not be possible. Thank you, Paul and Stephen. Okay, wonderful. They waste so much paper. This is a whole blank page for no reason. They don't fucking care about the environment. Okay. Project 2025 Advisory Board. Look at the names of these people and these companies. These are the front groups in the conservative era. Alabama Policy Institute, Alliance Defending Freedom, American Compass, The American Conservative, America First Legal Foundation, American Accountability Foundation, American Center for Law and Justice, American Cornerstone Institute, American Council of Trustees and Alumni, American Legislative Exchange Council, the American Main Street Initiative, American Moment, American Principles Project, Center for Equal Opportunity, Center for Family and Human Rights, Center for Immigration Studies, Center for Renewing America, Claremont Institute, Coalition for a Prosperous America, Competitive Enterprise Institute, Conservative Partnership Institute, Concerned Women for America, Defense of Freedom Institute, Ethics and Public Policy Center, Family Policy Alliance, Family Research Council, First Liberty Institute, Forge Leadership Network, Foundation for Government Accountability, FreedomWorks, the Heritage Foundation, of course, Hillsdale College, Honest Elections Project, Independent Women's Forum. We're not done. Institute for the American Worker, Institute for Energy Research, Institute for Women's Health, Intercollegiate Studies Institute, James Madison Institute, Keystone Policy, the Leadership Institute, Liberty University. I'm sure that's a real place. National Association of Scholars, National Center for Public Policy Research, Pacific Research Institute, Patrick Henry College. He would roll over in his grave. Personnel Policy Operations. That's got to be a Scientology front group. Recovery for America Now Foundation. 1792 Exchange. I have to look up something. George Washington's unanimous reelection for a second term as the President of the United States. Okay. So they want to roll it back to GW's second term. Okay. I did not know what that meant. Okay. Sorry. I have a lot of American history in my head, and I did not remember that was George Washington's second term. So apologies. Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America. Texas Public Policy Foundation, Teneo Network, Young Americans Foundation. Okay, those are all the people. All right. Yeah. 2025 Presidential Transition Project. Okay, so this is the part where they're going to talk about what needs to happen between now and Trump actually getting sworn in on January 20th. A note on Project 2025. We want you. The Presidential Transition Project is the conservative movement's unified effort to be ready for the next conservative administration to government at 12 noon, January 20th, 2025. Remember, guys, they put this out in April of 2023. April of 2023. A full year before the actual election countdown. Okay. Welcome to the mission. By opening this book, you are now part of it. Indeed, one set of eyes reading these passages will be those of the 47th President of the United States. And we hope every other reader will join in making the incoming administration a success. Now, if Kamala had won, they would not have handed this to her. We all know that. They would have handed it to Congress and try to make these things happen, but it would not have been handed. They would have had to revise that. History teaches that a president's power to implement an agenda and its apex is at its apex during the administration's opening days. Guys, I have not read this, so you and I are reading this together for the first time, okay? To execute requires a well-conceived, coordinated, unified plan and trained and committed cadre of, they love this word, cadre, of personnel to implement it. In recent election cycles, presidential candidates normally began transition planning in the late spring of election year or even after the party's nomination was secured. That's too late. That's why they released this in April 2023. The federal government's complexity and growth advance at a seemingly logarithmic rate every 4 years. For conservatives to have a fighting chance to take on the administrative state and reform our federal government, the work must start now. Make no qualms about it, guys. They did start in April, and they got people pumped up. And as we went over before, Trump won. He won by millions of votes. This was not close. Okay? This was not a close election. Why? Because of this document right here that they used to ignite a fan base. Yeah. And the Democrats, just spent time going, that's not in my lifetime that's going to happen. That'll never happen. I mean, Roe versus Wade got overturned, but this is never going to happen. Yeah. The entirety of this effort is to support the next conservative president, whoever he or she maybe it's interesting to me that they thought that the Republicans might have run a woman instead of Trump. Wishful thinking. In the winter of 1980, the fledgling Heritage Foundation handed to President-elect Ronald Reagan the inaugural mandate for leadership. This collective work by conservative thought leaders and former government hands, most of whom were not part of Heritage, set out policy prescriptions. They're a prescription, guys. Agency by agency for the incoming president. The book literally put the conservative movement and Reagan on the same page, and the revolution that followed might never have been, save for this band of committed and volunteer activists. Because nobody stopped them in 1981 from getting a seat at the table with Ronnie. Because all the people that were involved in this volunteerism were people he knew from back in the day, and they probably got some Hollywood peeps and all the other stuff. We could live in an alternative universe where the Heritage Foundation was laughed out of Washington, D.C., and they collapsed within 4 years. Imagine that. With this volume, we've gone back to the future and then some. Yeah, they're gonna put in the stuff they've been trying to put in since 1980. It's not 1980. In 2023, the game has changed. The long march of cultural Marxism through our institution has come to pass. Wow. Okay, guys, we have to sort this here for a second here. Okay. Marxism is a political, economic, and social philosophy that analyzes the history of humanity through the lens of class struggles and economic factors. Okay. Comes, of course, from Karl Marx. It's based on his work. And, of course, Friedrich Engels, okay? Marxism emphasizes the importance of economic factors in shaping human behavior and actions. It also posits that the struggle between the bourgeoisie, capitalists, and the proletariat, the workers, will lead to a communist revolution. Marxism uses a dialectical and materialistic interpretation of history known as historical materialism to analyze social conflict, class relations, and social transformation. Marxism has developed into many different schools of thought and branches, so there's no single definitive Marxist theory. Okay. So this is Karl Marx, this guy with the big hair and beard here. He was very anti-capitalism, right? And the bourgeoisie, the capitalists, okay, and the proletariats, the workers, he wanted them to be on equal footing, right? And to then say in this wording already, this is where I want you guys to really see where this comes in, because we're throwing around a lot of big words here. So the long march of cultural Marxism through our institutions has come to pass. So somehow the conservatives are convincing themselves and the people reading this garbage that Marxist ideas are predominant throughout government, which is really not true. The federal government is a behemoth weaponized against American citizens and conservative values, with freedom and liberty under siege as never before. Yeah, I mean, my freedom and liberty is under siege right now. I can tell you that. The task at hand is to reverse this tide and restore our republic to its original moorings. Is too great for anyone. This sentence is not good. The task at hand to reverse this tide and restore our republic to its original moorings, I read that wrong, is too great for any one conservative policy shop to spearhead. Yeah, that's a lot of work for one group, guys. It requires the collective action of our movement with the quickening approach of January 2025. Now, remember, this is April 2023. This was like 2 years away. We have 2 years and one chance to get it right. They were like singing Hamilton while they were trying to make this. Uh-oh, hot dog. I have to fix that later. Hang on one second. I did not mean to play that. I just meant to put my big old puddings back on the thing here. I just got a rather urgent notice here. So one second. This is what happens, guys, when you're in the middle of doing things and then you get dinged for things. So I have to go and fix something here. There we go. So I got dinged on my other video for my only wish this year, the Britney Spears song. That's found in literally 12 seconds of the video. Somebody else filed that copyright claim because I'm pretty sure Britney doesn't care. She should go talk to Scientology and get them to stop playing her songs. That would be great. All right. Let's get back to this excruciatingly long document. Yeah. Project 2025 is more than 50 and growing of the nation's leading conservative organizations joining forces to prepare and seize the day. That list that we just read, they're using all of those groups. The Heritage Foundation is basically, wonder twinning with all these other conservative groups, these other 50 conservative groups, to put this agenda out. Right? Because if it's just the Heritage Foundation, we can all, be like inundated with this everywhere. The axiom goes, personnel is policy. This was written by a Scientologist, and we need a new generation of Americans to answer the call and come serve. This book is functionally an invitation for you, the reader, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, and Ms. Smith, straight people, to come to Washington to support those who can. Our goal is to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. The project is built on 4 pillars. 1, this volume puts in one place a consensus view of how major federal agencies must be governed, not should be governed. We suggest this must be governed, and where disagreement exists, brackets out those differences for the next president to choose a path. Pillar 2 is a personal database that allows candidates to build their own professional profiles and our coalition members to review and voice their recommendations. These recommendations will then be collated and shared with the president-elect's team, greatly streamlining the appointment process. You're going to be vetted through this conservative machine prior to actually even going forth as the proposed person. We're gonna do our own due diligence here. Pillar 3 is the Presidential Administration Academy, which I showed you earlier, an online educational system taught by experts from our coalition, from our approved, our people. For the newcomer, this will explain how the government functions and how to function in government. I have my little heater under my desk, and I thought it was rotating, and it's not. So it's my one kneecap is starting to get really, really hot. For the experienced, we will host in-person seminars with advanced training to set the bar for what is expected of senior leadership. Pillar number 4, the playbook. We are forming agency teams and drafting transition plans to move out upon the president's utterance of, "So help me God." Agency teams. Translation, militia. They are waiting for the hammer of Thor moment, the so help me God from my cold dead hands. They will have tactical teams ready, guys. Agency teams. As Americans living at the approach of our nation's 250th birthday, which is going to happen in 2026, we've been given much. As conservatives, we are as much required to steward this precious heritage for the next generation. On behalf of our coalition partners, we thank you and invite you to come join us at project2025.org. Okay, so this is just a rundown of all of the people who wrote this shit. I'm not going to get into their resumes here, but these are all the contributors. This is their little tagline, their resume. Okay. Like I'm going to skip that, but all of them you can know are part of one or more of those organizations. Okay. These are the contributors. Okay. They volunteered their time and effort. Okay. Office of Senator Steve Daines, the American Main Street Initiative, Hillsdale College, right? Not one of these are you going to see a name here that's not, oh, here's a guy, Stuart Baker from Steptoe and Johnson LLP. Here's all the Hoover Institution, WWBX LLC. That sounds like Willis Wayne Bixby. He's from his own company. From Athos. I'm just looking for the ACLJ action. I don't know what the ACLJ is. It's probably somebody like the opposite of the ACLU. Corn Ferry. What the frack is Corn Ferry? Amber Wave Partners. Oh, I got you. The Amber Waves of Grain. Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies. So look at all these people that volunteer. Ohio Northern University College of Law. That guy's a professor there. Booz Allen, Hamilton. Somebody from that group that's always in the defense, world, right? USC Schaefer School for Health and Policy and Economics, Joseph Grogan. If your kids are going there or you thought about sending them there, let's not. Republican Jewish Coalition. I feel the same about this group as I do for Gays for Trump. Office of Congressman Devin Nunes. Like, there's a shocker. Just looking. Utah House of Representatives. Of course. Baker Botts, LLP, whatever that is. Lawrence Consulting, Targeted Victory. The University of Delaware. Cooper and Kirk, PLLC. Lots of lawyers in here. Of course, the Office of Governor Kristi Noem. These are all the people that just gave their time, guys, these contributors. That's a lot. A forward. Here we go. Jeez Louise. A Promise to America. Kevin D. Roberts, PhD. 44 years ago, when I was 4 years old, actually, I was 3 years old because this was written in 2023. The United States and the conservative movement were in dire straits. Both had been betrayed by the Washington establishment. Okay, so this is 1979, guys, that he's talking about. And were uncertain whom to trust. Both were internally splintered and strategically adrift. We're still at that moment of acute vulnerability and division. We found ourselves besieged by existential adversaries, foreign and domestic. The late 1970s were by any measure a historic low point for America and the political coalition dedicated to preserving its unique legacy of human flourishing and freedom. First of all, guys, if you remember the 1970s, the late 70s, which I grew up in, we had gas lines everywhere. Things were fucked up. We were still recovering from the Vietnam War, where people were spitting on Vietnam veterans in the street. Like, this is literally, yeah, it was a low point for America. But not because conservative values had gone out the window. Because we lost a war that we've never acknowledged that we lost horrifically, killing many of our youth, resulting in protests nation and worldwide. Okay? Like, and then the free love movement gave, birthed the cult movement, which was sweeping over America, and people were leaving Christian churches left, right, and center and joining the fucking Hare Krishnas. Okay? And Scientology, and Est, and the Children of God, and Jonestown, and all this other stuff. The 70s were a mess. A mess. But they're going to be like, it's because we lost our conservative swag, guys. We got to get our groove back. Today, America and the conservative movement are enduring an era of division and danger akin to the late 70s. Yes, America and the conservative movement are at odds. Yes. Yes. We don't like each other. That is facts. Now as then, our political class has been discredited by wholesale dishonesty and corruption. Oh, you mean the preachers that talk about the PDF files, who then themselves are PDF files hiding there, or they preach against the gay, and they are, again, PDF files having the gay sex with their Congress adults and children? Are you talking about those guys in your Christian movement who are doing that? Are you guys going to hold them accountable? All these upstanding Christians who are doing that constantly? Look at America under the ruling and cultural elite today. Inflation is ravaging family businesses. Yeah, that's because we have unchecked capitalism. That's not because conservative or liberal politics. That's mostly because of conservative politics, let's be honest. Drug overdose deaths continue to escalate. Yeah, we have a huge drug problem in this country. Why? Because we don't have accessible mental health for people. And people think that mental health is not real. And so they look to kill their pain with any substance that will numb it, instead of look to healing their trauma. That's why we have a drug problem. Children suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens. First of all, there have been drag queens since the 70s. They have only gotten more fabulous since the 1970s. And drag queens do not promote transgenderism. That's not a thing. Drag queens are not trans. They are men who look better as a woman than I ever have. That is something that people don't understand. Drag queens are not trans. They transform themselves into women, or in the case of drag kings, women transforming themselves into men for a stage performance. It's a performance. Okay? And pornography invading their school libraries. There is no pornography in the school libraries unless you're reading the Holy Bible. There's a lot of begetting in that. Lots of begetting. It's very, descriptive. I mean, if we're going to ban, are you there, God, it's me, Margaret, we got to get rid of the Bible too. Yes, drag queens were part of Shakespeare. Oh, now what? Because guess what? Women weren't allowed to be on the stage. So men had to play all the parts, including the lady parts. Yeah. There's been men dressing up as women as long as there's been theater, y'all. Kabuki, same thing in Japan. There was no women allowed in kabuki. Those were all men dressed as women. But now it's a problem. Now it's a problem. Overseas, a totalitarian communist dictatorship in Beijing is engaged in a strategic, cultural, and economic Cold War against America's interests, values, and people. All while globalist elites in Washington awaken only slowly to that growing threat. Are we talking about TikTok? How TikTok has invaded everyone's mind? Because they have a different version of TikTok, y'all, in China. It's totally different. It's not the TikTok we have in America, and people are only allowed to use TikTok a couple hours a day in China because they regulate the internets and things like that. And you have to keep your point score high, your personal point score in China, or you are going to get visited by, the CCP. They're going to come get you. They're going to come get you. Moreover, low-income communities are drowning in addiction and government dependence. Government dependence. Oh, you mean things like food stamps and SNAP and, free lunches in schools? Gross. Gross. Contemporary elites have even repurposed the worst ingredients of the 70s, radical chic, to build the totalitarian cult known today as the Great Awakening. No one calls it that. No one calls it that. Woke is not a bad word, y'all. It's just another word we stole from black people and fucked it up. The Great Awakening. No, nobody says that. That is the whitest thing I've ever heard of. And now, as then, the Republican Party seems to have little understanding about what to do. Most alarming of all, the very moral foundations of our society are in peril. It's in peril. Yet students of history will note that notwithstanding all those challenges, the late 1970s proved to be the moment when the political right unified itself. And the country, unified itself and the country and led the United States to historic political, economic, and global victories. Y'all, they are going to keep repeating this lie over and over and over and over that we had some sort of economic, resurgence during Reagan's administration. Unless you were a Wall Street fat cat, a yuppie, fucking life sucked in the 1980s under Ronald Reagan. Shit was horrible. Our roads were falling apart. Our schools were disgusting. People are smoking everywhere. The cars were polluting so much that Los Angeles was brown. No one won during the 1970s except for the CEOs of corporations and the 1%, because that is the era where inflation skyrocketed and the median household income stayed the same. And because there wasn't a civil war, people didn't rise up and walk off their fucking jobs in the 80s because they were so underwater, right? That they knew they had won. That is also the era, y'all, that just immediately following women getting the right to have their own bank account, own their own property, get their own credit card, credit companies saw this as the new way to buy things. People would rarely buy things on credit in the 70s, 60s, 50s, etc. Why? Because they had lived through the motherfucking depression and they knew they only bought things for cash. They only bought things they could afford. What changed in the 80s? Everybody had a credit card. Everybody's approved for something. And they're just doling out credit like it's Tic Tacs. And people got so underwater they couldn't fight back. They couldn't fight back. And our median income still hasn't kept up with inflation. And now people want to yell because people at McDonald's want to get paid $20 an hour. They can't even afford their own apartment on that $20 an hour, y'all. They can't even afford their own apartment on that because they won't get scheduled for a full 40 hours. Because McDonald's, like other major corporations, doesn't want to pay health care for their people. So they schedule people for just enough hours where they don't have to pay for health care, like 29.5 hours. They will schedule you for 5 hours and 43 minutes so that you don't get a lunch break, that they have to like eat it for a half an hour while you're not working. And that's perfectly legal. There's no one working at McDonald's right now that can afford their own apartment anywhere in America. I'm so tired of hearing that. Please stop, putting forth this lie. The Heritage Foundation is proud to have played a small but pivotal role in that story. It was early 1979 amid stagflation. Okay. Gas lines and the Red Army's invasion of Afghanistan, the nadir of Jimmy Carter's days of malaise. This is how the conservatives paint Jimmy Carter. During his days of malaise, he was negotiating the Iran-Contra fucking hostages, you goddamn pieces of shit. The only reason that those hostages were released from Iran is because of what Jimmy Carter did. And Ronald Reagan took credit for it. I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill. These guys gaslight and rewrite history at every possible turn. Jimmy Carter is the single greatest president we've ever had in this country. I will fight anyone in the street over that. The Heritage launched the Mandate for Leadership Project. Okay, this is the first one that they turned over to Ronnie. We brought together hundreds of conservative scholars and academics across the conservative movement. Together, this team created a 20-volume, 3,000-page governing handbook containing more than 2,000 conservative policies to reform the federal government and rescue the American people from Washington dysfunction. It was a promise from the conservative movement of the country, confident, specific, and clear. Mandate for Leadership was published in January 1981. The same month, Ronald Reagan was sworn into his presidency. Oh, what a coinkydink. By the end of that year, more than 60% of 3,000 pages, y'all. I don't know. I don't know math that well. What's 60% of 3,000? 60% times. That's 1,800 of those 3,000 pages. Sorry, guys, I couldn't do that math in my head right now. My head is reeling. Of its recommendations had become policy by the end of 1981. Reagan was on his way to ending stagflation. No, he never did. Reviving American confidence and prosperity. No. And he did not win the Cold War. The bad news today is that our political establishment and cultural elite have once again driven America toward decline. No. Opposite. The good news is that we know the way out, even though the challenges today are not what they were in the 1970s. Conservatives should be confident that we can rescue our kids, reclaim our culture. There is no such thing as American culture. American culture is getting fat, eating too much Thanksgiving and hot dogs and shitty barbecue on paper plates with fucking raisins in the salad. Okay? That's American culture. Apple pie's from Dutch people. We don't got no American culture. What's our culture? Over nationalism? Pride in a flag that we don't even fucking care about enough to just like really take care of. We put it on fucking underwear and headbands and t-shirts and boxers. What is our culture? Hating people who aren't white? Genocide? Like what the fuck? Revive our economy for the rich, not for me, not for you, and defeat the anti-American left. First of all, the left are not anti-American. I take a big issue with that. I take huge issue with that, at home and abroad. Guys, if people don't like America and they're in another fucking country, that's their right. Everybody doesn't have to like us. This is so fucking stupid. We did it before and we'll do it again. As Ronald Reagan put it, let's quote the Gipper. Do it for the Gipper. freedom is a fragile thing that's never more than a generation away from extinction. It's not ours by the way of inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation. Yeah. People should pay attention to the first part of the second sentence. It's not ours by way of inheritance. Just because I'm an American, people listening are American, these fucking assholes who wrote this are American, doesn't mean they get what they want. That's not what America's supposed to be about. America's supposed to be a democracy, meaning each individual person has their view, their voice, their vote. It doesn't mean we all conform to one singular voice or look. That is a cult. That is communism. That is not democracy. This is the duty history has put before us and the standard by which our generation of conservatives will be judged. And we should not want it any other way. See? Cult think, cult think, cult think. The legacy of Mandate for Leadership, and indeed of the entire Reagan revolution, is that if conservatives want to save the country, we need a bold and courageous plan. This book is the first step in that plan. I want to see how long this is because we're getting long. Okay, we're going to read the Conservative Promise and then we're going to end off there for today. Because like I said, guys, this is a long one and it's now 6 o'clock. I got to start making dinner here. Okay, so. All right, the Conservative Promise is the opening salvo. The opening salvo. Does everyone know what a salvo is? That's where there's a huge spray of armament at the enemy. They are talking about literal war terms here. Of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project, launched by the Heritage Foundation and our many partners in April 2022. So they started working on this a year before they put it out. It took them a year to get these 933 pages together. It's 30 chapters and lay out hundreds of clear and concrete policy recommendations for the White House offices, cabinet departments, Congress, and agencies, commissions, and boards. Just as important as the scope of the Conservative Promise's recommendations is the breadth of its authorship. This book is the product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from across the conservative movement and around the country. Contributors include former elected officials, world-renowned economists, and veterans from our presidential administration. Period. This is an agenda prepared by and for conservatives who will be ready on day one of the next administration to save our country from the brink of disaster. I want to pause here for a second. They started this in 2022. In 2022, the Democrats, and by that I mean like the DNC and people in Senate and in Congress, okay, were literally like, we got this. Everything's groovy. We're going to just, we're not going to worry about this stuff. When Biden finishes, we're going to just, maybe we'll get somebody else to run. They were not on top of this. The DNC sat on their motherfucking hands and let Pop say he was going to run again and then told everybody else, don't you dare fucking run against him. We have to look united. We're going to do an impersonation of the conservatives. We're all behind him. 100% love Biden. Guys, by 2022, we could all see that President Biden was in a decline, physically and mentally. Okay, being president of the United States sucks the life force out of whomever is in that seat. Look what happened to Ronald Reagan. He was like a fucking Alzheimer's Orama in the last 3 years of his presidency. Okay, do you guys remember when Nancy would just stand beside him all the time and then be like, okay, daddy, let's go, father, and just like whisk him off the stage. Jill Biden was doing that for the last 2 years of Joe's presidency. She was pulling a Nancy Reagan. Right? And whenever she wasn't around, he'd be like, you want to yell at me? I got something to say. and then we would have some fucking disaster moment because, he didn't have that much life force to give, guys. He was already old as hell. Obama went in with black hair and left with gray hair. The man was only 50. It sucked like 100 years out of his life. By the time he left in his second administration, his hair was white. It's nuts. The Democrats failed us. Okay, for those of you who are out here scared, wondering how all this is going to affect your livelihood, your life, the DNC and the Democrats in general failed us. They were very myopic. They were like, we have to combat Mitch McConnell, and we have to combat this thing, and we got to try and push this fucking agenda through. Guess what? Guess what we got out of all of that? A big fat nothing burger. And then only when people like myself, I'm sure, were like texting back the fucking number that was texting me every day to donate to Biden, I literally would text these people back, and I knew they were volunteers. They're not, they're not the actual person. But I would text them back and be like, I'm not giving you one fucking dime for this shit. Like, if I have to vote for Biden, I will. But like, this is bullshit. He should have never run. He's not physically able to do the job. And they finally got the message in the 11th hour, which was way too late. Most Democrats fucking hate Kamala. And if she's smart and wants to continue some form of a political career or anything, do not run for president of the United States ever again. You're not going to win the nomination. I voted for you. I bought the merch. I talked about it. I felt a sliver of hope for 1 second. I allowed myself to feel that false hope for a moment. I knew it wasn't going to happen. I knew fucking Trump was going to win the whole time. As soon as he re-entered the race, I was like, he's winning. None of these other people, no one's going to beat him off the stage. He's going to win. Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, right? All these old-timey Democrats, they failed us. Has Nancy Pelosi been in Congress fighting for 20 plus years? Yes, she has. It's more than time for her to retire. Dianne Feinstein is like, she's getting wheeled around places. She's unconscious. Like, we are hanging on to people who do not have the mental capacity to do stuff. The Republicans have Mitch McConnell, who's probably died 3 times while he's talking, but they continue to win because they recruited who? They recruited the young people. How do I know that their recruitment has been so effectual in this generation, in this Gen Z generation? Every single one of my kids in high school and middle school is surrounded, okay, by young conservatives that are very loud, that are very defiant in their beliefs about who should be allowed to be alive. I'm talking about middle schoolers, y'all. I'm talking about high schoolers. These kids are militant. And now that Trump has won, they are even more emboldened. Democrats didn't recruit the youth. Democrats are worried about boomer white lady, no offense to the boomer white ladies here, but boomer white lady votes. They didn't go to the youth. They didn't start talking to Gen Z or Generation Alpha that's about to enter high school. They're like, youth. Youth is wasted on the youth. We're going to concentrate on these people who don't change their mind for nothing. Also, the boomer white liberals are always going to vote liberal. They're not going to get enchanted by Trump. It's the wrong target. That's why the conservatives are winning. Because they went to the next generation. They got them pumped up with fucking revival songs, with young conservative, incel males selling this brand of conservatism to them across every social media possible platform ever. And I'm talking about Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, What am I missing here? Twitter, Spotify, every podcast thing that exists, YouTube. They are everywhere. Well, see, the boomers that voted for Jill, Aubrey, they think they're voting liberal, but they forget that she's a Russian asset. She's a paid Putin asset. I don't know why people can't figure that out. Just like fucking Google pictures of her. There's over multiple years, pictures of Jill Stein with Putin in Russia at a dinner, being wined and dined by him. She is a professional campaigner. Okay. She has made millions and millions of dollars off of campaigning. That's all she does. She just campaigns. She's never won anything, ever. Yeah. All right, let's get back to this here. The Heritage Foundation is once again facilitating this work, but as are dozens of partners and hundreds of authors will attest, this book is the work of the entire conservative movement. As such, the authors express consensus recommendations already forged, especially along our 4 broad fronts that will decide America's future. Number 1, restore family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. Translation, destroy gay marriage across the country and weaponize and demonize libiqua so that there are no more different people, only straight white people having heterosexual sex and living in a nuclear heterosexual family. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. They really, really, really want to put in states' rights. Now, states already have rights, but they want the states to be able to overturn pesky, pesky things like gay marriage, Roe versus Wade, and make it unsafe for anybody to be outside of a state that does not respect their rights. Defend our nation's sovereignty. I don't think that's under question right now. I don't think anyone is like, hey, America, you guys aren't in charge of yourself. We're coming for you. I haven't heard that. Borders and bounty against global threats. Now, the word bounty there could mean 2 things. Like we're defending our bounty, our beautiful products against global threats, our bounty, our resources, our gold, our water, our nuclear weapons, our commerce, right? This is an insular America where we only consume American-made products in America by Americans. We do no longer do world trade. We become an island. Secure our God-given individual rights to live freely. What our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty. I hate to break the news. But blessings isn't only meaning God's favor and protection. Okay, if we go back, I need to find my really old, right? See here, a person's sanction or support. He gave the plan his blessing even before it was announced. That's to give your own personal sanction or support, right? And in the, okay, right here, to secure the blessings of liberty, that I do believe that they have the wrong definition there, that they are thinking that that is from God. This is sanctioned by our founders. It's not God. It's sanctioned by our founders. Okay. What makes these 4 pieces of the conservative promise so valuable, so valuable to the next president is that they cut through superficial distractions and focus on the moral and foundational challenges America faces in this moment of history. Yeah, the gays are ruining everything. This was one of the secrets of conservative success in the Reagan era. Yeah, Remember how it was still like illegal to be gay in a lot of places, and the HIV crisis, which Ronnie and Nancy fucking, fumbling the balls to say the least, but they didn't care that gay men were getting killed off in droves and cut funding for research, etc. Because fuck the gays, right? One generation should emulate. Our generation should emulate. No, I will never go back to that bullshit. As in the late 70s, Americans today experience the failures of political and cultural elites, from mostly the Republican side, in countless ways. The job market, in the grocery store checkout lines, that's because of Trump shit. We barely undid that shit. Also, it's called unchecked capitalism. And that the median American household wage has not increased commensurate with that of the wages of CEOs. We have not checked capitalism. The fact that NVIDIA, which is not an American company, is set to become a $4 trillion a year company because no one's ever made a better product than them shows you the problem with that. Sorry, guys, my throat's getting dry. On the streets and in our schools, in the media, and within our institutions. But in truth, these daily dysfunctions are not innumerable problems, but innumerable manifestation of a few core crises. In 1979, the threats we faced were the Soviet Union. We still face that threat as Putin. The socialism of 1970s liberals. No, that was just called the equality movement. That's not socialism, it's equality. And the predatory deviancy of cultural elites, rich gay people. Reagan defeated these beasts. Oh, anybody who's not straight and white is now an animal. By ignoring their tentacles and striking instead at their hearts. His approach to the Cold War, we win, they lose. His economic agenda, the human dignity of work and its many rewards. Trickled down economics, which never trickled anywhere. His platform in the cultural wars, community values embodied in these words: family, work, neighborhood, peace, and freedom. Why during the 1980s, since we had all this great stuff, conservatives, why during the 1980s was there a rise in rape and murder of women across this country? The 1980s saw the birth and rise of more serial killers, men killing women, men hunting and killing children than ever before. Why was I not safe to walk home by myself from school as a young, small American girl? Because I could be plucked from the street and kidnapped and dead. How did any of that era provide safety and freedom for me? Absolutely the fuck not. It did not. Absolutely not. This book and Project 2025 as a whole will arm, again, militaristic here, we're very aggressive, the next conservative president with the same kind of strategic clarity, but for a new age. They could have said, this book as a whole will prepare the next conservative president with the same kind of strategy and clarity, but he's arming them. Arming. I want you guys to pay very close attention. It took 400 people to look through this book and write it, and this is what they decided was the best turn of phrase here. Okay, so we're going to end it off there. The next president is going to be armed. I want to get to your questions and comments, guys, because this is going to take a while to go through. We're going to go through it, but we're going to take our time and we're going to really understand it. All right, let's get to your comments here. Yes, Aubrey. Straight right Christian males. That's who it's for. Yeah, not the foster children, Abraham. Yeah, forget them. Absolutely. Your head is spinning, Kelly. Thank you, Nora, for informing us about this. People just don't comprehend what they're planning on doing. Yeah, because, guys, it's a lot of double speak. It's a lot of gobbledygook. And you have to really be able to, like, translate it and bring it to the forefront. Traditional American values, which Americans? The original Americans? Yeah, right? Are we all going back to, Native American lifestyle? And they get all their land back? And we go to the reservations? Is that what's happening? I don't know. This morning, my spam filter didn't filter out an email to get a free Trump flag. That was quickly blocked by me. What a way to start the day. Yeah. Like, if there's some fucking mandate that I have to fucking hang a flag, that man's name or visage on it, I will. Yeah, no. That's some bullshit. Also, that's a desecration of the American flag every time they, put like the stars and stripes and then put Trump on it. Heritage and MAGA are the descendants of the Birchers. Yes, from the 1950s, the moral majority in the 60s and 80s, and the Tea Party. Yeah. Yeah. Donnie couldn't manage to read the daily military reports when he was president last time. He only watches TV. Yeah. No, he's like an audiobook only person. He doesn't read the book. He just watches the movie. It's not even the audiobook. I take that back because I respect people who listen to books. I can't do it. My ADHD is just too wild for that. But yeah, he just watches the movie version. Yeah. The Proud Boys, the American Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, Stormwatch. Yep. Yeah, they're not going to put those guys on there. Moms for Liberty, InfoWars, Dan Bedondi of Truth Radio Show. Yep. Yeah. Restoring, Jacques Blue says, Jackie. Restoring equality in employment. Everyone works for the same low wage. Yeah. Except for those who commit a MAGA crime. They get work camps, free labor, which we partially already allow. Yeah. You read Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, and I say if Trump and the cons want workers to rise, I say enact everything. P.S. Marx was a racist. And then just kidding. Yeah. Marx wasn't a racist. No, he was for workers. Yeah. No more LGBT. No more Labiqua. You know why I say Labica? LBGTQIA. Labiqua. Some kid said that in a meme. I'm never going to not forget it. No more LGBT plus marriage. No interracial marriage. Correct, Aubrey. You will not be able to marry somebody unless they are also the black. Revert the 13th Amendment. That's not going to go well. No. But yeah, they want to do away with interracial marriage as well. So like President Barack Obama couldn't even exist, or, well, technically, I mean, Kamala, from their viewpoint, is like two browns make another brown, like that's literally how they think. So hers, even though she is an interracial woman, she's black, she's Jamaican black and South Indian, but yeah. All the progress we've made toward a more perfect union put their panties in a twist. Now they will make us pay. Yeah. Yep. You feel the same way about blacks for Trump? Yeah. This is very true. The majority of people on food stamps are white. It's poor white people. But this is what the, conservative movement has been doing since time immemorial. They pit poor whites against poor people of color and let us fight it out in the arena of life while they sit back in their gilded cages and laugh. They just have to make the poor whites feel like they're more than somebody else. And so they do. But we're all the same, homie. Liberty University is real. It's a non-tax private Christian university. Well, of course it is. Oh, it's the Falwell University. Okay. Right. And his pool boy. Yeah, I gotta finish watching that documentary. Holy shit. Yeah. Sam's Club is another great example. Walmart, McDonald's, Sam's Club. All these places pull the same shit. All these retail fuckers. Starbucks, all of them. When I was working at Sam's Club, full-time at Sam's Club, I was working 30-ish hours. Yeah. No, they're never going to give you 40 hours a week. Never, because then they have to pay for your health care. Is this where Trump keeps getting the comments he always makes about? Yes. I have all these scholars. Yes. Yes. Raisins in the salad. Never. You'll never get a raisin in a salad from me. I promise you. Since they want to go back to the 1700s, does that mean they, much like in the Bay, we can burn a boat? You know, like the... Yeah, what are we dumping in the harbor, guys? What are we dumping in the harbor? We're dumping McDonald's in the harbor? Is that what we're going to do? We're going to throw all the McDonald's and the KFC into the harbor? No, the fish won't we can't do that. We can't poison it. We're already wrecking it. You're surprised David Duke wasn't consulted? He probably was. In the late 70s and 80s, I lived on buttered noodles and ketchup. SpaghettiOs was also, yeah. Fucking hamburger helper, man. Hamburger fucking helper. Schmuzzle some shit from the fucking cupboard into a goddamn casserole dish and call it a day. Yeah, we all survived on that shit. Cheerios and that, man. If he sets up on Ivy League universities and gathers first-year law students to join a group to help them get off on the right foot and introduce them to people who can move them forward. Yeah, that's what the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society does. These two things, they work in conjunction. And yes, this is like a lesbian scissoring thing. And that's what they do to each other. They're just scissoring each other all day, all night. I can't believe that I wasted my time handwriting postcards for the Democratic candidates in Kamala. What the fuck? The local Democratic campaign office had volunteers. Yeah. Why were we doing that? Why were we doing that? No kid is reading a postcard. They are on Snapchat. They're on fucking TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. They're not reading mail. Oh, I'm so sorry. One of my uncles committed suicide because he was HIV positive in the 80s. One of my uncles died in the late 2000s from AIDS. Big fuck you, Ronnie. Yeah. The research on that is finally caught up, and there's finally workable drugs for people living with HIV. And now the conservative movement has convinced people that only gays get HIV. And so straight women who end up positive won't take the antivirals to keep themselves healthy and then give birth to children who are HIV positive when their kid didn't even have to have it to begin with. That is disgusting. I'm glad you enjoyed my attempt at Ronald Reagan. I haven't heard his voice in a long time, so I got to work on that. So grateful you're doing this. Sitting here in Scotland feels like a wave of the USA Reich swooping like a dark blight shadowing the US, but we'll stand together with you. Thank you. Thank you, Cuddly Floof. I appreciate that. Hamburgers. We need to put the hamburgers in the bay and the kofifi. The kofifi and the hamburgers in the bay. Most of the heroin problem is from the pill crisis caused by, protected by conservatives. Yeah, Procter and Gamble. Yeah, what was the other family name? Fuck. The Seidlers. Yeah. Pushing it was non-addictive, knowing it was for every minor pain on planet for profit. Yeah. Yeah, Oxycontin took over. And then people went back to the old school heroin because they can't get the oxy, but they can get heroin. Yeah. Let's check out at your question. What will happen when they close all the public schools? That's a good question, Vernon. I'm sure we're going to get rid of child labor laws and the kids will be expected to go to work. Yes, Kelly, the alien machines are sentinels. That is also not a mistake. Have I read The Cult of Trump? No, I haven't finished that book. I need to finish that book. I love Steve Hassan. Yeah. Have I ever seen the miniseries Miss America about the women's movement? I have to check. I've seen a lot of documentaries lately, but I'll look. What shirt size should I get if I have the big tatas? I don't understand the size chart. I also have the big tatas. I always end up getting like a large. That usually fits me. I wear a G. I wear like a 40G, if that helps. Yeah. How are my watch hours doing? That's a great question. Let's check it out. Let's see how we're doing here in the old watch hour department here. So right now, because this updates like every day. So here's where we're at. I will show you behind the scenes. We are at 1,069 public watch hours. We need 4,000 total for all of the things to open up, or 3,000 for the first layer of things to open up. We're at 595 subscribers, which is amazing. We have 524 public shorts views. I have some more shorts that will be coming shortly. Sorry. Yeah. So that's where we're at on that. What can we do to combat this horrific MAGA movement? Is there any hope? Well, the first thing is understanding the players, understanding the game. Because, guys, we are at a game night at a friend of a friend of a friend's house that somehow we got dragged to. And they're playing a board game we ain't never heard of. So we really have to pay attention very, very closely to the rules. Now, the important part about paying attention to the rules, okay, is not for us then to yell about the rules. That's the easy thing to do. I don't like that rule. Okay. We cannot like the rules. But the way to win a game, any game, whether it's a game you want to play, it's a fucked up game, whatever, is to learn the rules of the game and find the loopholes. Find the holes that you can combat them with their own rules with. Okay. That's why we have to learn these rules. We're learning the rules not so we can scream and yell about it. Okay. And just be unhappy about these rules that are going to come to pass. Okay. I'm going to remind you guys again. Donald Trump has a royal flush right now. If you're a poker player, you know what that means. It means he has the ace, king, queen, jack, and the 10 of a single suit. In this case, it is the Republican suit. Okay. And by that, I mean he has the executive branch, he's got the House, he's got the Senate, he's got the Supreme Court, and he's got the judiciary across the country in his pocket. That is his royal flush in his hand. Okay. Now, bonus in the royal flush is he has things like the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society, who have hundreds of front groups. And I call them front groups because they are their own individual entities, but basically they're an offshoot of these two organizations. Okay. 160 or so of them. How many front groups do the liberals have? We have the ACLU. What else? Anyone? Anyone? Besides the ACLU, what other front groups do the liberals have? Because whenever we talk about combating something, we're like, well, the ACLU will take it on. Right? We have Reggie, the Rainbow Coalition. We have nothing, guys. We don't have this magnitude, this order of magnitude of front groups and core groups to shore up our belief system. Because the Democrats, the liberals, right, the left, cannot come and will not allow themselves to come to a cohesive unity of voice, tone, and message. Never. Not in my lifetime. Not since the 1970s have the liberal left had a cohesive, unified message. The conservatives have said, you can get on this boat or you can go fucking drown. And they're not playing around. They are very militaristic about this whole thing. Democrats are like, guys, let's have a circle. Let's just talk it out. Let's hug it out. Let's express our feelings. Okay. Everybody's feeling is valid. Like, the conservatives are winning because they're like, fuck your feelings. They literally have shirts that say, fuck your feelings. They're willing to say that. Meanwhile, the Democrats are like, guys, everything is fine. We're that fucking meme of the dog sitting in a burning fucking room, drinking his coffee, going, this is fine. That's the Democrats as a whole, as an entity. So the only hope that we have is to pay attention. Believe people, policymakers, judges, when they tell you who they are, when they tell you what they're going to do, believe them. And prepare yourself for those things to come to pass. Stop pretending that these things won't happen in your lifetime, that people are going to rise up. Who are the people? Who are the people that are rising up? Where are they? Where are the Democrats that are marching in the street? I don't see anybody knitting pussy hats. I don't see a women's march being organized right now. I see nothing. I marched in 2017 in Washington during the inauguration. I flew to Washington, D.C. for the first time and marched. I was there. I was part of the 1 million+ people that were there in Washington, D.C., marching onto the Capitol that day in a peaceful demonstration. Thank you very much. I was there for the inauguration, and I saw the difference in the tone of the people. I went down to the streets to watch the inaugural parade. The parade of the proud conservatives marching down to get their looky-loo at Trump. There was barely like 20,000 people there, guys. It was sad panda. We had over 1 million people the next day marching everywhere. And I watched as those conservatives, those right-wing, white, straight, Christian conservatives, looked into the faces of the youth, the Democratic leftist youth, who were daisy-chaining themselves together on a sidewalk in downtown Washington, D.C. to protest and say, we want human rights, and watch those white elderly conservatives, these Christians, throw hot coffee and spit on these children. I knew right then that that is where people were emboldened to go, even before he took the oath of office. And then what happened to those youth that were willing to put their bodies on the line to protest the start of the decline of democracy? Were they thanked? Were they, scooped up by political powers that be and ushered into an internship, a free training program? Were they given jobs somewhere? No, they were abandoned. They were abandoned by the establishment Democrats who went on to negotiate away everything they promised as per usual. Republicans don't bend the knee. Now, when they're negotiating with Democrats, they will say all kinds of things and negotiate their way into a compromised bill, but they don't bend. When they put a bill forth, that thing's going through, or they're going to fucking put it through the typewriter again and repropose it as something else. Democrats, on the other hand, put a bill up that's for equality and all this other kind of shit, and then they tear it apart just so they get votes. And they call that progress. But we got one thing out of the bill. Well, there was 100 things in the bill, and somehow the Republicans got 99 things and we got 1. How did that work out? Okay. So, yes, Lupita, believe when people show you who they are. Okay. And this, guys, people who voted for Trump voted for Project 2025. And if they say they didn't vote for that, they didn't read it, ignorance is not a plea here. Ignorance is not a plea. I haven't read Project 2025 yet. I already knew I didn't want to vote for it. And as I'm reading it, I'm confirming that I was right. Okay, guys, so we're going to go through this piece by piece. It's going to take a while, but we're going to dive into it. We're going to make sure we fully understand these rules, and we're going to find our ways around them. This is not the end of humanity. This is the end of the American experiment as we knew it. And we need to acknowledge that. Democracy is dying here in America. She is gasping for air. She has a punctured lung, and no one is administering first aid. Let's start administering some first aid and stop yelling about the things that we're not going to change. Okay? I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's, of course, Trauma Tuesday, so I have therapy in the morning, but I will see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're on the replay crew, please hit that like. Please subscribe. Thank you guys for being here. Also, one last ploy here, guys. The ohnomerica shop, if you are so inclined to buy swag, is still open. 15. Wow, I got a first order here, guys. I love you. Thank you for that. Is open for business. There's 15% off through the rest of today. Okay, so head on over there. It's ohnomerica.com. 15% off. All right. So please, please, please check that out. And I will see you guys next time.
There's an elephant and Donkey both on shaky ground, but we got the truth and we gonna shout it loud. From the healthcare to taxes, they can't hide from us. With a wink and a nod, we expose all the fuss. Educating the masses with a smirk on our face, bringing clarity to the headlines in this crazy race. From the White House to your house, we cover it all, putting humor in the facts. We're having a ball. Oh no, America, let's get real and laugh, teaching you the politics with a little bit of sass. Current events and headlines that blow your mind, only on Oh No America you'll find.